And we're back. This is One Rep at a Time Radio. What's going on, family? This is Marv. I'm going to be your host. This is One Rep at a Time Radio on the Recovery Channel mobile app, which you are listening to right now. It's brought to you by OneRepAtATime.net. This is our 8th episode. I am super excited. What are we going to talk about today? Well, we're going to talk about something that I think is far more common than what it kind of gets talked about, and it's kind of an issue that I struggled with for a very long time. And it's an issue that, in order just to kind of talk about it, I didn't put any show notes together for today. I just hit the record button. I'm going to talk for an hour straight about this topic. Hopefully it all makes sense, but I think I'm just going to, go from what I feel is most important to discuss about this topic. And it's a topic that I have a lot of emotions tied to it, a lot of history tied to it, and I think it's one of my stronger points that I'm able to identify and empathize with, and then how show people what I did to fix this topic. Now, what topic am I keep rambling about and talking vaguely about? It's the topic of having a body image issues, in particular muscle dysmorphia as a man in today's society, which is not very in vogue, it's not very sexy, it's not very confidence-inspiring to be a man and talk about. I struggled with severe body image issues, which led me to make some really bad decisions and have a very, very complicated relationship with my health and fitness. You think somebody's getting and staying in great physical shape, that it's a positive endeavor, but I turned that positive endeavor into something negative, and it controlled me for a very long time. And we're going to dive into that and how I managed to restore that relationship to something positive in my recovery, because that is a huge part of my recovery process, and is actually one of the main reasons why I decided to start One Rep at a Time, to not only tell people who are in recovery that, look, addiction affects us mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically, and far too often we neglect our physical health in our recovery. But also for people not in recovery, just to be open about my past mistakes with fitness, give them information that isn't biased or has an ulterior motive of selling you something, as well as talking about this issue, right? Because I don't think it's talked about enough, of body image issues, how you get over them, the psychological aspect of it, and just how potentially toxic that is, and what steps you could do to get over that. So before I get started, to kind of center myself and ground myself, since this is going to be an hour-long show where I'm just going off the top of my head, kind of telling my story and what I did with it, I want to start my own version of the third step prayer, which was suggested to me to do in treatment. It's one of the more powerful things I have done, and hopefully you get something out of it, and we go from there. Now, let me just say with the caveat before I dive into this, that 12-step meetings are not a requirement for a clean and sober lifestyle. There are many paths to the same top of the hill, just like there are many forms of addiction. It doesn't have to be just drugs and alcohol, but for me and my story, I needed and need 12-step fellowships in my life. That's just me personally. It doesn't have to be you. So look for the similarities, not the differences, and we'll go from there. So let's get started. God, take my will in my life, relieve me my fear and insecurity, and replace it with self-love and acceptance. Instill in me the principle of non-judgment towards myself, ever reminding me to be gentle on myself. Allow me the courage, the drive, and the focus to do today what needs to be done, to walk through what I need to walk through. May life radiate through my eyes, not the clouds of depression. May my actions bear witness to you, fulfilling your expectations and not those of me or others. May I do your will always, clean, sober, and free. Amen. All right, so where the hell did my body image issue start from? Well, if we go into my story, my first drug of choice was your validation. Let me expand on that. So I, as a young kid, was very insecure, very unsure of myself. Even at a young age, I don't think I had a true internal or intrinsic identity. Intrinsic means internal. It didn't come from within, right? I used something or someone to identify myself by. And because I was so insecure, didn't like myself, felt uncomfortable in my own skin, felt different from my peers, I needed your validation to feel okay about myself. So at a young age, your validation was my first drug of choice. I'm sure if you had my brain, hooked up to some fancy scientific machines, there would be a dopamine release whenever I got validation from people. And dopamine is the feel-good neurotransmitter that your brain shoots off when you do drugs or whatever your addiction is to, right? It's like a dopamine tree. So I guarantee you if they did that, they would see that I got a lot of dopamine as a young age from getting validation from others, because if you recognize me, good, bad, or indifferent, but when I was younger, I really strived for good validation. When I got older, it was just, I don't care if it's good, bad, or indifferent. I just want you to notice me. But when I would get that validation from others, like, I would feel somewhat okay about myself, a little secure about myself for that time being. So I became a perfectionist. I became someone needing to perform to others. Was very codependent in not like a specific relationship, but as far as like I was a people pleaser, right? And I needed to be the best at what I did or whatever I chose my identity to be. And so that identity changed over the years, just like my circle of friends changed over the years. Sometimes it was by my own doing, sometimes it wasn't. But I was just so insecure, so unsure of myself with no internal identity. I needed validation from others. And so that, that was a big deal, right? Like, that plagued me for 27, 28 years of my life, is because I had no identity. I needed something to hold on to identify myself by, to fill the void inside of me. Now, I didn't grow up working out or athletic, right? I played sports, but I wasn't very good. I hadn't grown in my body yet, so I was good enough to make the basketball team all the way through middle school and high school. But I was a bench warmer, pretty much meaning I would wear breakaway pants, but I never had a reason to break them away, so they were just pants. I could make the team, but I wasn't good enough to get some serious playing time. So I got picked on a lot because I was kind of small and unathletic compared to my peers, right? I was kind of an easy target, so I think that definitely had something to do with me being obsessed with how muscular I could get later down the line. But this is all kind of just speculation on my part. But I did get picked on a lot. I tried to hang out with the jock crowd for a while, and it didn't go very well. So I had that going, and another reason why I think I became obsessed with being a wannabe bodybuilder is I just had, just your normal young boy daydreams, right? Big buff, ride a motorcycle, get all the girls, get at sports, everything I wasn't. So when at a young age, I really wanted to be big and buff and muscular. Who knows? Maybe it was the G.I. Joes I played with, right? Because when you play with G.I. Joes as a young boy, the G.I. Joes are always ripped and muscular. Who knows? But at a young age, I wanted to be big and buff. I idolized that, and I was obsessed with sports. Anything sports I was into. So some of my idols were, very athletic, very muscular, yada yada. But I still didn't really fall in love with the gym until I was probably 20 years old, maybe 21. So I never really lifted weights, right? When we had to do it for high school basketball, I hated it because I was weak. Really weak compared to my teammates, so again, easy target. It's kind of funny, when I first found the gym and lifting weights, I would only go if I was drunk and or high, and high on smoking weed or high on cocaine. So it's an amazing thing I never had a heart attack, right? And why did I need to go to the gym loaded? Well, I would judge myself. I'm a perfectionist. I compare myself to others, right? I'm always comparing myself to others or where I think I should be. I was disappointed and insecure that I didn't know every exercise from day one walking to a gym was tiny compared to the quote-unquote muscle monsters at the gym we went to, because it was kind of borderline underground place. And 3, I was significantly weaker than the friends I was going with. So my introduction to the gym was, hey, Marv, we're going to go work out. And I was like, well, I got to get drunk or high first, So kind of weird, right? But that's what it is. I'm just really grateful I never had a heart attack. So for 6 months, I went to the gym and got dragged by my friends. I was loaded because I I would just compare myself and beat myself up. And I got really, really good at assigning my morality to this stupid stuff. And we'll dive into that a little bit later. But so I was introduced to the gym, but somewhere around 6 months, I that old daydream of being big and buff started to like resurface. And for some reason, I think around that time there was a breakup I went through where, oh man, I did not handle that very well. So it was either right before or right after I decided that I was going to use my body to identify myself by, and I decided that I wanted to look like a cover model on a muscle magazine. So not just like cover model of like just walking down a runway, but like super muscular, super lean, chiseled from stone type physique. And I decided I was going to do that, but here's the thing: I didn't really know what I was doing. The information I was getting was bad. I was relying on, I call them muscle comics today, like muscle magazines and hearsay from the other guys. And so I didn't really know what I was doing, right? I didn't understand the study, the research of it. I fell for every trick that the fitness industry gave me. So what does that mean? Well, I read muscle comics like they were religion, like they were the Bible. I tried to emulate them. I would, at my worst, in regards to supplements and whatnot, I was taking 30 to 40 supplements a day. 30 to 40. That's insane, right? There's no way one, there's no way to know what would work. But two, majority of those aren't going to work, period. So, like, I would latch onto the advertisements of, like, this new shiny tub of capsules or powder. I'm just one supplement away from being where I want to be. And I remember I set this standard of I want to be cover model, ripped and muscular and just perfection. But I didn't know what I was doing. I was still drinking and drugging, which means following a diet. It's really, really hard, and I didn't know the basis of dieting. But and then I was relying on supplements, right? I could look to this day. I could spew off a bunch of information of touting various studies that quote unquote claim that a supplement works, but where was I getting that information? From supplement guides that were put off by the online superstores that sold all these supplements. Like, can you not say conflict of interest? So I latched onto that, right? I would study these supplement manuals. I would study muscle comics. And I decided I wanted to be just ungodly ripped and muscular, that top tier physique. So within a year and a half of starting to lift weights, I, in my infant wisdom, decided to hop on steroids. So I was 21 and a half years old. I'd only been working out for less than 2 years. Didn't really know what I was doing. Didn't understand the basics of nutrition, was relying on supplements to give me my answers, and I decided to hop on gear, is what they call steroids. So I didn't really do much research on it. The first time I got a chance to do it, I said yes. So I met with this quote-unquote guru guy who gave me my first vial of stuff, and we had an interesting conversation. My friend's mom, who was a nurse, she taught me how to inject. She got me needles from her work, and I started my first steroid cycle at 21 and a half years old, not knowing what I was doing in the gym, not knowing what I was doing for nutrition, and making that decision, which would have lifelong consequences. And at this point, my identity was my body, and you bet your ass I loved the results that I got, and I was immediately hooked. The power I felt, the psychological edge I felt, the aggression, I was instantly stronger. Not instantly, but by the end of that time, I was way stronger, way bigger, getting more validation from women, right? Because I was constantly seeking that to feel okay about myself. And just like when I talk about when I took that first time I got drunk and I thought this solves everything, when I was midway through my first steroid cycle, I was like, this is the greatest thing since sliced bread. And just to show like how quickly I got quote unquote hooked on them, even though people will claim they're not addictive, for me personally they are. I went behind my steroid gurus back and picked up more various steroids, without wanting to tell him, right? Because he's like, this is all I'm going to give you. Once this is done, you're going to take these drugs to get off of it. You're going to take some time off, and then you could go back on, but I'm not going to give you anything else. I went behind his back. I didn't even know, the guy who I got him from, he didn't even know what was in some of the vials. So that just shows, like, in my addictive personality, did I become addicted to this drug? Absolutely. So that just compounded my body image issues, because now I was getting muscular, but I had some trouble spots in my physique, and I became a pretty aggressive steroid user for the next. So I started at 21 and a half. My last thing was at 27. So 5.5 years, 6.5 years really. I was using various athletic drugs, we'll call them, and then a variety of things. And that was when I just so happened to start using those things, my body image issues started getting worse. I don't think that is just a coincidence. I really started using my outsides to find my insides, and that's when I started to have some mental health issues, meaning I started becoming a little bit more insecure, and I started assigning my morality to how I looked, how I performed, what I ate, all of that. So what do I mean by that? I would determine that I was either good or bad based on my physique, and let's not forget, I decided I wanted to be cover model rip, that top 1% of the top 1% physiques in the world, yet I didn't know what I was doing. I was drinking and drugging on a daily basis, and I'm a perfectionist, so I'm always going to fall short where my physique is, right? I would always do my daily flex routines in the mirror, and instead of looking at all the progress I had and being like, look, man, I'm getting this muscle or that muscle or whatever, I would only focus on my trouble spots. And for me, that's my chest. I mean, whatever, we're getting bodybuilding specific, but trust me, I bring it in recovery. My chest has always been my trouble spot. I always had a hard time feeling it, hard time getting it to grow. So I do my daily flex routines. That's all I would focus on. Not the benefits, but just where I fell short. And I would feel sick to my stomach and get angry at myself. And I was an evil person because I didn't have show-worthy pecs. I wasn't able to step on a bodybuilding stage and have the biggest pecs there. I became obsessed with it. And it led to a lot of injuries. I would assign my morality based on what I ate. So back then, I was very dogmatic of following you're a wannabe bodybuilder, so you eat clean foods. I didn't understand the basics of nutrition, right? And I hadn't come up with that distinction of let's eat smart, needs to be smarter. That's why I'm such a proponent of that, and I'll dive into that shortly. But back then, I would eat clean. I was a clean eater, or eating bodybuilding staples. Well, the problem is when you do that, you demonize food. So remember, I'm a drug addict, alcoholic, so when I get high or the munchies or blacked out, I'm going to eat those foods I demonize. And so it would typically go down of like, I'm going to be really strict on my diet, which I was. I'd get a little too loaded, and then I was like, you know what, F it, man, I'm going to have it. Well, I would have to convince myself it was okay to have those demonized foods. So like, let's just use pizza for an example. Because pizza is one of my all-time favorite foods, and it is terrible for you physique-wise. So let's have pizza, right? So friends would get pizza, and it would be there, and I'd be like, I'm not going to do it. That's a demonized food. I got to eat clean. My body, my diet, blah, blah, blah. Well, eventually, after like 20 minutes, I would convince myself, you know what, it's okay. I'm only going to have one. I know I could only have one. It won't hurt. Man, you work extra hard, or I'm going to work hard later, right? So I have that piece of pizza. But then I would start to feel a little guilty, like, dude, I just ate a food that's not clean. And so that one piece would turn into two pieces would turn into three, and then I get the case of the F. It's like, well, I already blew my perfect diet, so I might as well get it out of my system now and restart tomorrow. So I would binge and eat 5, 6, 7, 8, order another whole pizza. I'd eat a pizza and a half at a time in a night. And then I would sit there, and I would just feel guilt and shame. And I mean genuine shame, like feel guilty to where like it's like my mom caught me stealing money out of her purse. Like I would beat myself up mercilessly, borderline panic attack, sick to my stomach, nauseous, get the sweats, my pulse would race. I would beat myself up. And I don't think that's like a normal reaction to kind of overeating. Yeah, we all overeat and we go, oh man, I don't feel so hot. That wasn't a smart thing. But I would have those severe physical reactions to it. And so then I would be evil. But then the odds were I would continue to binge that night, and then I'd wake up the next morning, oh my God, and then I would just torture myself in the gym to try to make up for it. And just beat myself up and call myself names and talk down to myself and try to work off what I had done the day before, right? This is very, very unhealthy. And I was assigning my morality, what I was eating, and what my body was looking like. And I also assigned my morality to the quality of my workouts. So I have a lot of injuries, right? A lot of genetics, a couple freak accidents, I'm beat up, guys. Like, I've had 8-9 major operations where I've been put under, multiple torn tendons, multiple broken bones, just some freak accidents. I'm beat up, and so working out was not really the best thing. I was actually told never to lift over 100 pounds. I was told never to do certain exercises, and I would be stubborn and I would do them. So, how I would assign my morality is I had to have monstrous workouts every single time. So if I was lifting hundreds of pounds and setting personal records, we call them PRs in weightlifting, I would just beat myself up, and talk down to myself. I'd get angry. I would listen to angry music, which makes it damn near impossible to be spiritual while you're working out. So Du Hast was big, Rammstein, Disturbed, System of a Down, some really angry Metallica, whatever, So I'm listening to this angry music. My blood pressure's rising. I'm glaring at people between sets. I'm kind of scaring people because I'm also really big because I'm on steroids, which you bet your ass there was a psychologically addictive aspect of I was no longer that small, scrawny kid getting picked on growing up, People were going to fear me. Even though I was a gentle giant, wannabe tough guy, people were going to fear me, damn it. And I'd be glaring at people, and I'd be talking down to myself, and I'll be calling myself names. Don't be a B, don't be a P. Man up, no pain, no gain, all that crap. I would have, just to put into an example, I would have my training partner hold my shoulder in socket because it would want to pop out because I had a bad shoulder from injuries when I was doing heavy preacher curls. That's not sane. That's not smart. And let's not forget, I'm in college studying kinesiology, exercise science, how the body works, how to rebuild, how to repair the human body. And that's what I was treating myself by because I used my outsides to define my insides. I was a perfectionist, and I would expect this ridiculous level of performance from myself. So if I didn't have a fantastic work, I'd beat myself up. I would talk down to myself. It was just very negative. Never were my workouts spiritual. And that just contributed to my body image issues, right? My muscle dysmorphia. I can never be muscular enough yet lean enough. I can never be big enough, strong enough. I'd always compare myself to others. Always walking by a mirror kind of flexing but instead of being remember what I said, I wouldn't look on where I improved. I look on, well, your upper chest sucks. You don't have enough ab veins. Whatever, you just add whatever you want to throw in there, stuff like that, right? And it was very unhealthy. So I was turning this positive endeavor of getting fit and healthy and making it negative. It controlled me. It'd give me panic attacks, sick to my stomach, nauseous. I had dry heaved a couple times, kid you not, of just feeling so bad. Now I never crossed into an eating disorder as far as starving myself or making myself throw up, but I got myself so worked up a couple times I had dry heaves. After just sitting there and beating myself up and make myself feel full of shame and guilt for my perceived inadequacies. And here's the thing, everybody would give me compliments. Everybody. Yeah. I would kind of just brush them off and not take them seriously, and they'd be like, yeah, well, what if about this? What about that? In my head. I wouldn't tell them that, but in my head I'd be like, what about this trouble spot? What about that trouble spot? Oh, you ain't seen nothing yet. I'm going to be bigger and badder next year, It was like when I was a young kid daydreaming, I would always daydream. And so it was that type of behavior that I picked up and became so ingrained in me as my normal state of being, And it was a very toxic time in my life. I hated myself. I had no self-esteem. I was using this conquest of physical perfection to beat myself up and hold myself to a standard that I would never, ever, ever meet. And I used it to just reinforce that I was a piece of shit and a failure and an inadequacy, and how could anybody love me, and it led me to act out with other behaviors, especially in my early 20s, of using and manipulating other people for various things, and it just was not productive. I got hurt multiple times. It was bad, guys, and but I would never talk about it. I'm not going to tell anybody I have a body image issue, that I'm insecure, because I would project this image of confidence bordering on cockiness, right? It was false pride encapsulating self-loathing, is how I would put it, right? I would project this image of cockiness and almost arrogance, right, to hide how insecure and scared I was, and it was very, very negative. And I couldn't have a positive relationship with my health. I actually sacrificed my health a lot. The things I was doing and how I was treating myself, I'm lucky to make it out alive, let alone without serious consequences. And let me tell you, I do have some consequences from those behaviors: the drug use, the beating my body up, the side effects from the drug use. I didn't get out of it completely unscathed, but compared to what I was doing and the long-term damage I do have and am aware of, and trust me, there's going to be more down the line that's going to come up. I'm not blind to that. I'm going to have some pretty big health issues the older I get because of what I did. But, it is what it is. But I'm very, very lucky, and I thank my lucky stars. And my higher power was looking out for me when I was unable to look out for myself. So, there I am, right? I'm using fitness to beat myself up. I'm using something positive to beat myself up, and I can't get out of this rut, and it's just making me feel worse and worse. And I've been introduced to the rooms of recovery, and again, 12-step fellowships are not a requirement. They're just my story. I was introduced to the rooms of recovery and the concept of recovery. And here's the thing, guys. My last relapse started with a steroid cycle because I was insecure about myself, and even though I was introduced to the concept of recovery, and it was 2011, I didn't work on myself. I didn't have a real sponsor, so I did nothing to work on my insides. Yet my outsides had gone to shit because, you don't lose 80 pounds in 9 months and land in a lockdown unit of a psych ward and look fantastic doing it. My body really shut down. I had the shakes for 2 months. It was bad, and I didn't work on my insides. So I resorted to my default, which is to use my outsides to define my insides. And so my last relapse started with steroids because I felt small and weak, unable to perform in certain areas of my life that I needed to. And that led to other drugs, which led to other drugs, which led to other drugs, which led to me once again being too afraid to live, yet too scared to kill myself. And that's just a crummy existence. Every day was a chore. I'd wake up, judge myself, be kind of irritated that I did wake up, go through my day, numb myself enough to pass out, and that was my day. And so, yeah, I was lost. I didn't know what to do, and thankfully I found my God on June 22nd, 2013. My God was the gift of desperation. I didn't know it then, but that was the day when I finally admitted, I'm screwed if I don't do this. I'm going to die if I don't do this. I need to do whatever it takes possible. I had all these theories of why I wasn't that bad, or I only became a drug addict, alcoholic because events X, Y, or Z happened to me, or whatever excuse or justification and rationalization I made for my behavior. But it was that day that I realized I hate myself. I don't know who I am. I'm going to die. I know there's a better way to live, and I have to do something. Some sort of self-preservation kicked in me, and that was the first day that I realized, I don't have no self-esteem. I don't have an identity. I'm using my body to define me. Wasn't working, and that was like a turning point for me. And so that's when I found my God, and things have been better ever since. But that's not to say that day, oh my God, I was restored to sanity, my body image issues went away, my assigning morality went away, all of that. No, it took a long time. In treatment, right, they made me do a self-esteem builder. exercise where I had to look in the mirror every time I went to the restroom and say I love you 10 times. I had to write it on my daily journals, and I had to give myself positive affirmations. And in the beginning, like, I kid you not, like, I was just saying, I like you, I like you, I kind of like you, I kind of like you, I kind of like you. And it would build on that. I would write the word self-love on my knuckles. I would do whatever I needed to do because I knew, I didn't know who the hell I was. I knew I didn't like myself, but I needed to do something. I was sick and tired of being sick and tired in just beating myself up mercilessly, right? Like, you know, they say you came for the drinking and stayed for the stinking thinking, or I came for the using and stayed for the self-inflicted mental abusing. Like, that's me. Like, a lot of my issues are made up in my head, and body image was a big one because it contributed to my latest relapse. And so I needed to work on myself. And luckily I became cognizant of, if I'm ever going to work on my outsides again, it can only be if I've worked on my insides. And so I didn't work out once in treatment, even though they had facilities to do so. I came out of treatment like, I looked fantastic, guys, and I say that sarcastically, but I had like that skinny fat look, right? A big old belly, string bean arms, all of that. And in the past, like, I would have been super insecure, but like, I was actually pretty cool with it. You know, I kind of thought it was kind of funny almost. But because I was starting to work on myself. I didn't know what my identity was yet, but I had done enough work to realize that my body was not going to define me. It didn't define me as a person, and why would I keep doing that? So I worked on myself for the first time ever. For the first time ever, I truly worked on myself and got to know the real me and identified my core issues, right? Because drugs and alcohol, or whatever behaviors you want to add in there, are about a symptom of something far deeper, right? They're not my number one problem, they're my number one solution. And what hole am I trying to fill inside me with those things? And I was starting to identify that. And I don't know when it happened, but like, I just realized, like, I started to like myself. I was a little more secure with myself. My self-sabotage started going away. My self-loathing started going away. My need for validation from others started going away. And I started to feel a little bit okay about who the hell Marv was. And I was 27 years old at that point. And I got out of treatment, and I worked all 12 steps within a year. I went to therapy, and I started voicing my issues with body image, right? Because I had never really talked about it before. People who knew me well knew that there was something going on, but they didn't know to the extent. And so I worked on myself. When I got out of treatment, I didn't start working out. I didn't. I went to 90 and 90. I worked on my meetings. I worked on my recovery. I got new people, places, and things. And whatever your recovery is going to be, look, it could be therapy, it could be church, it could be job, it could be family, it could be meetings, it could be any type of meetings. It doesn't have to be 12-step fellowships, whatever it is. It's, you know, it is what it is. There's multiple paths at the same top of the hill, and my top of the hill and my path revolves therapy. Then, I no longer am in therapy, but it revolved it then, and steps and meetings. So that's what I did, and I started to work on myself, and I didn't work myself. I didn't exercise for the first 90 days I got out, and even then I eased my way back in because I knew that was going to be a trigger point, right? Body image issues, like my self-esteem and my sense of self-worth, is going to be fluid, like my recovery, right? Some days I am rock solid, right? People could drink right next to me, get high right in front of me, even I'm not going to purposely hang around there, but people could do those behaviors and I'm not going to feel tempted or freak out or insecure. There's going to be other days where there's a booze billboard, like a beer billboard or a beer commercial, and a part of me goes, oh man, that does sound nice. Like, so it's going to be fluid. You know, some days I'm good, some days I'm not. But so I knew that was going to be a big issue for me because that got me in so much trouble in the past. Well, guess what? I had started to define who I was through working on myself, through doing esteemable acts. I was starting to be able to hold my head up high, right? Even when I was big and all juiced up and really muscular, like, I would have bad posture and I would look down at the ground and my shoulders would be slumped. And I was realizing, like, my shoulders are back, my head's up. I'm prouder of who I am today because I'm starting to recognize the man looking back in the mirror. I could never do that. When I did my flex routines, I could never look myself in the mirror, and I would only look at my trouble spots. I was starting to be able to recognize me, and looking back in the mirror. For that, I was truly grateful. And I started to work on myself, and I started to find who I was. Who is Marv? What's my identity? What am I about? What am I not about? What are my core values? What do I want to be? What is my purpose in life? And I started working on those things, and then I started to work out, and I took my time, right? I had safeguards in place. So what were those safeguards? Well, when did I get a gym membership? I didn't get a gym membership for a long time. I just worked out my sober living with whatever equipment I had. I didn't diet. So, yeah, I started to watch what I was eating, but I didn't do a traditional diet, right? So I didn't diet down to look special for well over 2 years. So for 2 years, all I did was work out and be mindful of my eating, but I didn't weigh or track my intake. Weigh my food with a food scale or track my intake or do that. But I was cognizant of what I was eating and trying to eat healthier. I tried to restore my relationship with food, so not to demonize food, to start to learn the nutrition basics that I should have known given what I was doing, and coming up and just thinking about my relationship with health and fitness, that how it had been so negative and just toxic. And how, because I had self-worth, I was not going to allow anything toxic in my life ever again. Slowly but surely, I started to feel restored to insanity and a little bit more confident in my abilities to exercise and try to look good without having it define me or consume me. And after 2 years, I started to diet down to look special. And that's when a magical thing started to happen. Now, we are listening to One Rep at a Time Radio, brought to you by OneRepAtATime.net. Fitness is recovery mindset on the Recovery Channel. And I know I'm talking a lot about my body and fitness, but it's tied to recovery, guys. And I found that once I quit listening to angry music, right? No longer listening to Rammstein or Limp Bizkit, as terrible as that was, it got me angry, ready to go. Or farther in my past, I would listen to heartbreak songs. I would train for triathlons listening to "Hurt" by Johnny Cash. What? But I did that because I fueled off that negative energy, because it reminded me of a relationship gone wrong that I was trying to get over, and it would allow me to push myself. I quit doing things like that, and I quit. I didn't work out in a gym, so I wasn't able to really compare myself to other people. I was working out with whatever sober living roommate was crazy enough to work out with me, and I wasn't dieting to look special. I was just focusing on what I was eating and restoring my relationship with food, and not thinking of everything as black or white, as clean or junk or good or bad. And I started doing those things, and I started to be a little bit more confident in my abilities to want to improve in certain areas without having the insanity of body image come back. And I found that doing so, I discovered that exercise became my favorite form of meditation. Exercise, other than guitar, are my two favorite forms of medication. It is a medication. It's a medication for my soul. But meditation, for me, in my recovery, is it forces me to be mindful. It forces me to be present. I can get in tune with my body. I can get in tune with the guitar and the fretboard and playing the notes. And I just feel better. I feel calmer. I feel more serene. It's just great, Getting and becoming fit and healthy was returned to being the positive endeavor it should be for me. And I started to explore what I wanted to do with it. I have all this knowledge. A lot of it was book smarts, and then or even just fitness industry smarts. And I started to research more and study more. And for 2 or 3 years, all I did was study and work out, go to meetings, work on myself. And I started to learn more and more, and realized that my past is my biggest ally. I'm able to be brutally honest with myself about my past, and I can maybe help somebody else, and be brutally honest that I fell for every trick possible and help somebody else. And fitness has become my favorite way of not only meditation, but of direct personal amends to myself. Okay, this is my amends to myself for all the years and the pain and suffering I dragged myself through. Yes, my life is a living amends for my behaviors to my family, my friends, and loved ones, and people who I cannot contact because they asked me to never contact them again because I hurt them so bad. So that is my living amends to them, but this is my direct amends to myself, is my fitness and my health. Because remember, addiction affects me mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically. And, I worked on my mental, emotional, and spiritual health for a very long time, and then I started working on my physical health. And just like recovery has many meanings, and it's going to mean something different for me than for somebody else, I defined what I wanted my recovery to be, which was something that would enable me to live a life I could be proud of, to hold my head up high, and to be confident that what I was doing was right, was righteous, was positive, and was why I was put on this earth. That's what I wanted my recovery to be. And just be secure with who I am and not be afraid to live yet too scared to kill myself, right? I didn't want it to merely exist. I wanted to live. Okay, that's what I wanted my recovery to be. Then I defined what I wanted my new fitness to be. Now, for me personally, given my history, I like to be aesthetically pleasing, so long as I don't let it just control me and become an obsession. So I like to be muscular and fairly lean, and I like to be able to do whatever activity I'm asked to do and feel confident in my abilities, right? Hiking, playing volleyball, softball, football, surfing, even though I have terrible balance, But I want to be able to do whatever I was asked to do that day and feel confident that I could at least hold my own. And that's what I want my fitness to be, as well as feel healthy and not be ruining my health. Here I look great on the outside back in the day, but inside I was a disaster. And I didn't want to exasperate my health problems, because I do have health problems, guys, from my behaviors. And so I defined those two things, and then I found that my fitness was actually enhancing my recovery process. That was a huge thing for me, because my fitness was actually shortening my lifespan, just a few years prior because of my behaviors. And now it was enhancing the single most important thing in my life, my recovery. And that's what it could do for you. That is my message. That is the purpose of One Rep at a Time, of starting this radio show, of starting my own company. But regardless of it, it's just to show that fitness can and should be a huge part of your recovery process. And that's not to say that that's like the easiest thing in the world to do, to make that distinction or to have that relationship combined, but it is possible, okay? It can enhance your life and give you a better quality of life. Now, when I feel good physically, I tend to think clearer mentally, and I'm a little bit more emotionally stable, and that ultimately makes me spiritually fitter. And that's just me. Hopefully it's for you, but that was a huge distinction. I realized I can be fit and healthy and work on my fitness, which was my appearance and my performance, and not have it control me or determine my morality. And what I also want to talk about is what happens if those old body image issues start to arise. Because like I said, it's fluid. Some days I'm good, some days I'm not. Okay, when my old body image issues, my insecurities, and me wanting to obsess about my physique or my performance or my eating comes back, that is one of my first telltale signs that my spiritual conditioning is lacking and I've been neglecting my recovery. So typically whenever that happens, it means, okay, then I think, well, how many meetings I've been going to? Have I been working with others or talking to people in recovery? And again, your recovery is going to mean to you different things than me. So whatever the hell that means of working on your recovery, then do it. Have I been spending too much time doing, researching for, my newfound bias-free stuff? Am I looking at people in fitness and health in the industry who typically are phenomenal physiques? Am I starting to compare myself to them? All those things, if that starts to happen, well then yeah, my default is to be insecure who I am, compare myself to others, and have severe body and muscle dysmorphia. And so when those come back, it's my telltale sign that those things have been slipping. So it's an easy way for me to control myself, right? Because I'm very lucky that the obsession to drink and use was lifted from me almost immediately off June 22nd, 2013. But that doesn't mean my thought processes were immediately restored to sanity, or I'm never going to face those. So the obsession to drink and use is gone, but that doesn't mean I could fall back into self-destructive mental behaviors, which would then result in self-destructive physical behaviors. And so most times that's enough, right? I throw myself back in my recovery and whatever that entails for me. But sometimes it's not enough. I'm trying to think how deep I want to go. Okay, a couple months ago, my recovery was like on the forefront of my mind. I was very involved in my recovery. We'll just leave it at that. I don't need to go down my checklist. But for me, my recovery was quote unquote on point. Yet I was feeling a little obsessive about my body, and I could just feel like the negative energy surrounding my dieting and my lack of results coming back. So it's going to be beach season here in San Diego, and I am not dieting. I gave up the abs and quit tracking my food, and I did it because of my mental health, right? Because I had self-worth beyond just my body, I realized the slippery slope I was on. So I had the courage to do something about it, which meant stop dieting, quit being obsessive about having a six-pack, and I'm actually really grateful I did, because that means I've grown. I never would have had the courage to do that. Maybe even a year ago, I don't think I would have been able to stop dieting altogether, especially with the time of year. And for that, I am grateful, and it just shows that my recovery is working, and I have a firmer grasp on my history of body and muscle dysmorphia than I did previously. So the take-home point is, sure, I made huge strides with those mental health issues, but it doesn't mean I'm not going to ever have them come back. You know, they can, and they have come back. You know, what matters now, and I'm not responsible for that, but I'm responsible for what happens, right? I'm not responsible for the outcome. I'm responsible for the effort. The effort I needed to make was to take time away from dieting and work on just me. You know. And again, I don't think that's talked about enough, you know, that we're using our outsides to define our insides as our society and our culture. Now, being in recovery too, like I've talked about, I think we face some unique challenges. Well, one, obviously we're comfortable putting unknown substances in our body if your addiction and your recovery is to drugs and alcohol, but it could be to anything. So let's just say we're comfortable with risky behaviors. And I think putting an athletic drug in our body is a risky behavior. So we need to be wary of that. We cannot substitute one drug for another or one addiction for another. And then two, we're primed for a new addiction, right? Because remember, when I didn't work on my insides, I resorted back to using my outsides to define me. And that led to relapse after relapse after relapse after relapse. So we need to be mindful of that. And we need to also make the distinction that we are doing this as a direct amends to ourselves. We also need to be cognizant that we are doing this to increase our sense of well-being, and it's out of a place of self-love, self-care, self-empowerment that we are working on our health and fitness. It doesn't matter if you're the fittest person in the world. If you hate yourself, I wasn't the fittest person in the world, but I was above average fit, but I hated myself, and I didn't feel any good or better about myself than the person who knew they needed to lose 100 pounds, because in my head I was 100 pounds overweight. And so it's just coming to grips of how are we going to get that balance. How are you going to feel okay about yourself? How are you going to work on yourself without letting it consume you? So that's like the catch-22, right? You need to obviously care enough to put in the time, the work, the sweat, the tears, hopefully not the blood. Let's be real. But you're going to have to care enough to put in work, right? To make yourself healthier and fitter. And oftentimes that also means putting in the discipline and the sacrifice to eat less than what you would like, or eat more of the smarter foods, the I hate this phrase, but the healthier foods, right? Eating, preparing your own meals, versus eating out. We need to care enough to do that without going, like me, I went on the other end of the exception. I cared too much. I used it to falsely identify myself with, to falsely assign my morality, to beat myself up with, to just torture myself mentally. So we got to find that balance, right? We need to care enough, but we need to not care too much. And for everybody, that's going to be different things. So you're going to have to figure out what is that happy medium for you, okay? Now, here's some hard fact truths that I want to close with. To get fit, here's the deal. A majority of what you're going to eat, unless you can afford like a meal prep service or a chef, right, is you're going to have to prepare your own meals, okay? Let's be real. We all want to look good naked or better naked or be, So if you can't remember the last time you brought your own lunch to work for an entire week, odds are you're not exactly thrilled with how you look. Okay, that's a hard truth of getting fit and healthy. Okay, the second hard truth though that I want you to remember is getting clean and sober or stopping whatever your addiction is really effing hard to do. Packing your own lunch, preparing your own meals, going to the gym 3 times a week is not that hard. We always want to catastrophize, and we always make justifications, okay? Here's going to come a rant. You're listening to One Rep at a Time Radio, brought to you by OneRepAtATime.net on the Recovery Channel app. Here comes a bit of a rant. Why are you going to get clean and sober or stop whatever your addiction was to continue with behaviors that are going to potentially put you in the grave sooner? Meaning, why are you going to stop drinking and drugging and beating yourself up to only eat like shit, smoke a ton of cigarettes, not do any physical activity, watch your health deteriorate, know your health is deteriorating? Like, why? I'm challenging you. Why? How does that make sense? Sure, we could fall into that trap of, well, I'm not behind bars, I'm not sticking a needle in my arm, or I'm not waking up next to strangers, or I'm not gambling away the rent money, or I'm not, watching porn 6 hours a day, or I'm not shopping with $50,000 of credit card debt, whatever it's going to be, right? So it's easy to justify our behaviors. A cigarette's not going to kill me. Eating out's not going to kill me. Drinking energy drinks nonstop's not going to kill me. Not getting enough sleep's not going to kill me. It all adds up. So I'm challenging you. What are you going to do in your recovery that's different? Why, sure, I could take away my drugs, my alcohol, my self-destructive behaviors, but if I continue to beat myself up with toxins via smoking and eating like crap and not taking care of my body and all that stuff, like what really is the point? That's how I think. That's how my brain works. So I'm challenging you though. And I'm challenging you this. Do not waste this opportunity of that new life you got, right? Addiction ruined my life. It did, okay? Recovery saved my life. It didn't give me my old life back. It gave me a new life back. Well, why am I going to throw this new life away and shorten it by not working on myself? Not working on my physical health to make sure I'm around here. Now, yes, freak accidents happen, but if you would just take some ownership of your physical health and do it, man, you're going to be shocked. And so I'm challenging you. Here's the 180-day challenge I'm giving you. Okay, if again, you don't have to go to meetings, but if you go to meetings, they say give us a year, and at the end of that year, if you're not happy with where your life is, we will gladly refund your misery. Well, I'm asking you for 6 months. I'm asking for 180 days. For 6 months, I want you to work on your physical health and fitness. That means drinking more water, eating out less, starting to prepare the majority of your own meals, or finding a way to eat smarter, getting some sort of daily activity in, okay? I don't care if that's a walk around your block, especially if you're morbidly obese. A walk around the block, getting up a little bit earlier, do some sort of physical activity. Let's see, what else is there? Getting some sort of physical activity like kind of like cardio based, like walking, running, jogging, whatever it's going to be, hiking. I don't want to get into semantics. Fourth thing is finding like a fun outdoor or exercisey activity. So again, is that hiking with friends? Is that a sober softball league, yoga, Pilates, whatever? I don't care what it is. Find one of those things to do, and then at some point get to a point where you're doing some sort of resistance training. So that could be body weight, exercise bands, a gym where you do free weights, or your own house or machines, whatever. You do those things and do that for 180 days. You do that for 180 days straight, just like you worked on your recovery and got day after day after day, one day at a time you work on those things. Don't you think at the end of those 180 days, you're going to feel better physically, you're going to feel better about yourself, you're going to feel better about your recovery and your outlook on life, right? So the typical lifespan expectancy in the United States right now is just under 79 years. 180 days of those 79 years is 0.6% of that time. Are you kidding me? You're not willing to do less than 1% of your expected lifespan to potentially improve your life in ways you don't even know. And the odds are, if you're not going to take that less than 1% to work on yourself, odds are you're not going to see that 79 years old. That's just, it's a hard truth. I'm not, now this is all for entertainment purposes. This is not direct medical advice or telling you that, oh man, you're not going to hit 79 if you don't work out. But you get what I'm saying, right? I'm challenging you. Notice how I kind of sound almost a little in your face right now, because I get so fired up and I get so frustrated when people in recovery, we're given this awesome gift and we don't do anything about it. And we keep just justifying our crummy behaviors because I'm not getting loaded, I'm not doing that, I'm not doing this. And it's just such a wasted opportunity. Okay, so hopefully you got something from that rant. I know I got a little off the topic, but just don't waste this opportunity, guys, right? The longer you wait, the worse it's going to be. Rome wasn't built in a day, but it had a day one start. You're not going to remember the exact date unless you write it down. You're not going to remember the exact date you started to work on your health and fitness and your recovery, but your future self will thank you. Make that 180 days, exactly 180 days from now. Don't make that 180 day challenge end 3, 4, 5, 6 years from now when your health is deteriorated more and more and more. So it can be done. So please, I'm challenging you. You can do this, right? Getting clean and sober and giving up your addictions is really effing hard. Working on your health and physical fitness is not compared to that. We are so much stronger than what we give ourselves credit for. We are so much stronger than we give ourselves credit for. You owe it to yourself. You can do it. So hopefully we got something out of this. I've kind of, like I said, I didn't do any show notes for this, which I normally do. I just went off the top of my head, so it was very uncut, very raw, very unfiltered. Yes, my name is Marv. I am a gratefully recovering drug addict alcoholic, and I had battled with severe body and muscle dysmorphia issues, which I believe is a mental health issue. And I overcame it. I talked about why I think I developed those issues and what I did about it, which meant, first of all, working on my insides before I worked on my outsides. And I made the distinction that this is my favorite form of meditation and this is out of self-love and self-empowerment. Okay? I work out because I care about myself. It sounds weird, right? Because my workouts are not easy. But I push myself because I care about myself and I love myself and I want to improve myself. You can too. And remember, fitness means something different for everything else. So define what your fitness you want your fitness to be, and then that's going to determine your exercise, your eating habits, whatever. Neglecting fitness is just such an unfortunate thing that's far too common in the recovery community. Please don't follow suit, right? You're worth it. You are. Okay, just like you needed to quit beating yourself up over your addictions and putting your foot in the grave with your addictions. Get your foot off that banana peel, as well. Work on yourself. Work to improve yourself. Make that distinction. You're going to be a better person for it, because it takes discipline, fortitude, diligence, consistency, right? Consistency is the key. Consistency is what worked for us when we got clean and sober. Consistency could work with you for you and your physical health. So I'm just rambling at this point. I really hope you got some out of that. This is One Rep at a Time Radio. We're on the Recovery Channel app. If you like what I'm doing, please let me know. And if you have any potential topics you'd like me to discuss, please let me know. You could contact me at onerepatatime.net, or I'll just give you my email, Marv, M-A-R-V, at onerepatatime.net. You spell it out. And not only that, if you think it's cool that I have my own internet radio show on the Recovery Channel, and you think, you know what, I kind of would want to do that too, please let me know, and I could put you in touch with somebody. This is an awesome, like, just opportunity, period. What I mean opportunity is, like, I'm getting a chance to share my experience, strength, and hope. Hopefully not my opinions, bullshit, and dope. Hopefully you're getting something out of it. But, like, it's just a way for me to carry the message to the people still suffering, or to share my truth and to share my experience, and hopefully people get something out of it. So if you're interested in potentially doing a radio show of your own, please contact me. Other than that, I am blessed. Thank you for listening. Hopefully you got something out of it, and you can do this.